Heavy is the head that has to manage all of this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel.
We're now incentivized to buy what we already buy.
Fumbling through college had me building.
I also got something done on the other side.
And that was right around, I would say, May, maybe right before renewing the lease for this property.
Welcome to the channel, Martha.
Thank you for having me here.
Oh, I was going to say, I am getting up in their names, I'll tell you what.
Bills paid by other people, life was never this good. I had to step back, knowing that it's...
Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about why a lot of people cannot get ahead. It's not because you're not earning a whole bunch of money, but it's because you are pricing yourself out. You are pricing yourself out. I'm going to give you two things that are definitely necessary in order for you to get ahead. Now, in my last video, I talked about anybody can get out of their financial hurdles within 18 months as long as they are not sick. I truly and wholeheartedly believe that. This is a guy who came from an impoverished background, came from a 5-family household on a low income, who made it out of poverty in less than 5 years and has truly transformed his life and the life of anyone associated with me moving onward into the future through a lot of grit, a lot of determination. You didn't have to be as tunnel vision as me, but it's absolutely possible to get there within 5 years. Now, to just break generational curses, you can do that in 18 months. I believe that most people can get debt free within 18 months. And so, you see, there's a difference when you're starting from zero. I would rather someone tell me they have no money than someone tell me that they're in credit card debt or student loan debt. Because when you have no money, you're a fresh egg. But when you're in debt, and it's debt that is not paying you, now you're starting from below zero. And that's okay. It happens. It happens, in fact, to the majority of people, because the majority of people are going to college and taking on student loans. But that doesn't mean that you have to stay in that situation. Now, there's a variety of ways to tackle these issues. If it's just student loan debt, you don't have a meaningful job for whatever reason, you are struggling to find security within your life, one of the options for you may be to enroll in military service. Not saying Navy, Air Force, Marines, or Army, whichever one best suits you. You don't have to do 5, 6, 7, or 8 years. You can do 3 years. And in some circumstances, if you really push for it, they do have 2-year options, at least in the Army that I am aware of. By the time you finish basic training, you only have 1.5 years left. By the time you finish your advanced schooling, you have 1 year left. And they're trying to give you bonuses in order to keep you. Meanwhile, you've already paid off your student loans because they paid it off for you in just a 2-year span. That would be one of the quickest ways to pay off your student loans while earning an income and limiting your expenses almost to zero. You don't have to pay for food. You don't have to pay for shelter. You don't have to pay for your phone. You don't have to pay for nothing unless you want to associate with the outside world, right? Then you have those who are actually out there in the workforce. Let's say you want to aggressively pay off student loans and then start to invest. That is a great strategy. The problem that I have is that when people are allocating their money themselves, they tend to start shifting responsibilities. They tend to start limiting themselves by paying for other things as they arise. Car breaks down, oh, I got this extra cash now that I'm no longer investing it in my 401k or Roth IRA. House catches fire, oh, I got this extra thing to put towards insurance. And I'm not saying that all these things are not important. They absolutely are. But when you've already allocated resources towards something, when you've already put stuff in your 401k, Roth IRA, and portion a little bit in your emergency fund, when a need occurs, you then start to think critically about how to assess and fix said situation. You see, and so following the blueprint, you definitely pay off your debts aggressively and as quickly as possible. As long as you follow that blueprint and you do not allow yourself to literally just rot away spending money willy-nilly, you will get to a point where the debt is completely paid. Once the debt has been aggressively paid, you then shift focus to an emergency fund. I believe most emergency funds should be at most at least 12 months. When you get to a 12-month emergency fund, when you are able to support yourself for a year without work, then invest in aggressively. So after 6 months, you can start investing. After a 12-month emergency fund, you can start investing aggressively. You see, when I started investing, I had 10 grand. Everybody knows the story. I took 20% of that and I put it into the stock market. My expenses at the time, I was in a CUNY college, so I had a $40 phone bill. That was about it. My expenses was, what, $480 a month. I'm sorry, a year. Plus transportation and daily eating out every now and then. And when I say eating out, I'm talking about getting a sandwich from the corner store for $5, not going to these buffets and pigging out. So I say all that to say, I had really no expense. I had all upward momentum, and not everybody is blessed to be in that position, but I was 18. So I think most people would still have a parent or both parents in the household at 18. I was blessed to be a saver because I grew up in a family of savers. And then I was blessed to have met a friend who had started investing, and I started to think critically, and I said, let me invest, but in my way, in my own way. And I'm grateful for that because their investing was gambling, penny stocks. Put a penny stock here, put a penny stock there, put it in 10 different stocks. One of them will go up in 3 years. That is a horrible way of investing. That's gambling. And so I started to learn these companies. I started to analyze these companies. I started to hone in on these companies. And it really made me a better investor, a knowledgeable investor. And I started to understand companies, how they're structured, how they work, and why people would actually invest in them. And that's why I say if you don't know the company, if you don't like the company, if you don't use the company, if you don't believe in that company's future, then you don't invest in that company. But if you know the company, you like the company, you use the company, you believe in that company's future, you invest in said company. Now, I'm not your financial advisor. I'm just an average guy on YouTube. But these are the strategies that I follow in order to be financially successful. I see every single day people pull out their investments because they are broke, because they don't have an emergency fund. So their investments become their emergency fund. I can't tell you how many times I saw $5,000 go to zero. I can't tell you how many times I saw $2,000 go to zero. Not in my accounts, but in other people's accounts. Luckily, I haven't had to deal with too many emergencies as well in my own life. Luck does play a part in being financially successful. Because although I had an emergency fund, I depleted it twice when I bought my 2 properties. And then I had an emergency fund again and never had to touch it whatsoever. Never had to touch my emergency fund for any reason whatsoever. Have I had emergencies? Sure. I've had cars break down that cost me $6,000 to repair each and every time. And it happened twice, 2 years in a row. That's $12,000. But I had savings. I had checking accounts where I still did not have to touch my emergency fund for that. And so although I'm super grateful that I didn't have to touch my emergency fund in order to fix my vehicle every now and then, I was also aware that this vehicle would be a bigger liability year over year over year. And even though I own this vehicle outright, a $6,000 yearly tax is not something that I should be just swallowing year over year. I can understand if it happens once, but twice is too much. It's time to switch things up. On to number 3. Now that we've established we had to clear out our debt aggressively, you created a budget, you created a plan. You started to save intentionally for 6 months. Then you started to invest, and you continued to save until you got to a point where you got at least 12 months of an emergency fund. Now you can start allocating your resources differently. Once you start doing that, you can start looking into other options of investments, like real estate, like Series I bonds. You can start looking into even crypto, if that's something that you're interested in, right? You start to diversify a little bit more, broaden your horizons, knowing that you don't have to touch your investments because you're out of debt and you started to create a safety net for yourself to where if even in job loss, you're not going to be stressed. Now here's the number 1 rule that you must follow. Pay close attention to this. Do not get into impulse spending. Here's the thing about people in new jobs, especially when you're fresh out of college. You know what people like to do? They like to go out. No, they don't like to go out. My bad. They like to get on their phone, get on Amazon, and they start to become the most loyal customer that you have ever seen in life. Everything that they never needed before, they now need. They're buying everything online. Make it hard for yourself. Make it hard for yourself to spend money. I must tell you that today, I was on this mobile game. I love playing a mobile game on my phone. I was on this mobile game, and there's this character that I could unlock for $100. With the Apple tax that Apple be charging these days, it'd have probably been $105, $107. The character looks stunning. It's actually a character that I used. It was going to give me a skin. For all those who know what skins are, it was going to give me a skin that would be very exciting, at least initially. And I've realized I've already spent hundreds on this game, possibly even $1,000 on this game in the last 3 months. And I said to myself, there's at least 3 skins that I would need, and that would cost me another $300 at some point. Even if I pay this $100 now, there's $200 more coming. And so I said, you know what? Although it's a limited time skin, haven't seen it before, and it expires within 22 hours. As of the making of this video, it expires in probably 19 hours now. I said, I'm not going to purchase it. I'm not going to purchase it. Although it's $100, that $100 continues to add up. That $100 continues to add up. I'm supposed to go on vacations, trips, do this, do that, but we're just impulse buying because all I got to do is this 2 times with my thumb, and boom, $107 is out of my account. All I got to do is look at my phone, my iPhone, do this with my 2 thumbs, Boom, $107 is gone. When you look at people making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, you wonder, where did all your money go? Like, I don't see it. There's nothing to show for it. Can you imagine if they opened up their phone and showed you a game that they spent over $1,000 on already? And so I look at it and I say, listen, we all should spend on entertainment to a degree. But when it comes a point in time where I could literally be giving back to those in my life, and yet I can easily do this with my thumb and spend an egregious amount. And I do call it egregious because I could DoorDash food to all of my siblings for $100 for a day. How is that any different than doing this on my phone and unlocking a character and knowing that that doesn't affect me whatsoever? It wouldn't affect me whatsoever to buy this character, but yet I don't DoorDash food to my brothers and sisters just as often or just as effortlessly. You see, the thing is, people spend money on what they want to spend on, and when they're doing that, there is no negative sensors firing off. But when it's something that you're not accustomed to doing or not used to doing, sensors go off in your head day after day after day. You see, it's very, very simple. I'm a foodie. I love eating out. I spent over $80 on food today. But if I go to the store, if I go to the club and they tell me to get a $250 bottle, knowing that it costs, I don't know, $70 in the store, I'm going to look at them like they're crazy. Why would I buy a $250 bottle? I'd go broke doing that. Somebody else would look at me and say I'm crazy because of $85 dinners. So what I'm saying is be responsible. Be responsible. Understand what it is that you like to spend on and don't have a negative sensor going off in your head and say, do I really need this? Do I really desire this? Is that really for me? Fun fact, most people would lose the willingness to purchase something if they just waited 24 hours. If they just waited 24 hours, they would lose the willingness to want to buy said item or said thing. Funny enough, again, the skin that I wanted to buy was out for just 24 hours. Meaning that the pressure is on. People are going to feel pressure to purchase this item, knowing that it's for a limited time and that they will not see this again for possibly a month, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months. So yeah, it's insane to think about that. But it's also great to know that, hey, I still have enough self-control to say no to this. And I'm about to give you one more gem. One more gem, and this is probably the most important. You see, I felt bad when I was 17, 18, or even 16 years old. I felt horrible saying no to going out with friends, saying no to going to parties, saying no to all these different events. You know why I felt horrible? It's because I didn't have the money to go. It's because I didn't have the money to do. But when you start to earn income, when you start to save, when you start to have, not just earn, when you start to have money and you say no, you feel completely different. It's different when somebody says, hey, let's go on a date. It's only $40 and you got to say no because you don't have it. That hits a little bit different. That hurts a little bit more. But when you got 10 grand in the bank, just as a hypothetical example, and they say, let's go on a date, and you say no, it doesn't hurt at all because you know who you are, you know what you have. I just feel better. I feel different knowing, man, I could do whatever it is I want to do but I still decided to say no to you. That feels so good. So much better than not having and having to say no because you had no choice. It feels good to have choices. So if you like this video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. You know I post on YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify for podcasters, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Peace.